Hola, Norteamericanos y amigos. Greg Patten, host of the Daily Spit Take. We just got done watching the PlayStation State of Play, the first one of 2025, and we always go in with lowered expectations, and we always come out going, okay, there was some stuff there, but where does it rank? Does it actually hold up better than some of the previous State of Plays? Because I don't think anything is going to be as bad as the Suicide Squad State of Play where they showcased 20 minutes of that game. But they might have announced something today that could rival it. We'll see. All right, let's start right away. You go into these, you don't have a huge expectation. You should not. As big a fan of From Software as I am, they put out Elden Ring, Night Ring, earlier today, the trailer. They announced the release date May 30th. That would have been good enough in video game news for me, period. I would have been like, okay, we've got the network test this weekend. Some people giving reviews on Elden Ring Night Ring who had less than 30 minutes of game time because of server issues in the hotel. I don't think we can take those opinions that strongly. You're going to play it for yourself this weekend. You're going to feel for it. So we go into the State of Play thinking, okay, well, if they got Elden Ring Night Ring out of the way, could it be because on March 24th, we will be celebrating the 10th anniversary of Bloodborne? That was the hope. But if you watched, you know the answer. So let's talk about how they started. They started with Monster Hunter Wilds. I have to say this is at least the 5th or 6th time at a Sony event now we've seen Monster Hunter Wilds. I know the game comes out next week. I know that I'm a little biased, that I'm more excited for Yakuza Like a Dragon, Pirate in Hawaii. That's more my speed. I have played Monster Hunter World. I've played Iceborne. I've put in probably 25, 30 hours into both. It never clicked the way that I wanted it to as someone who enjoys action games. It's okay. Not everything's for me. But I do have to say, I think you set the bar when you open one of these with a game that we've seen over and over that people go, okay, it's going to be one of those showcases. They're not going to really go too hard with brand new stuff. And then, of course, the very next game was Shinobi, Art of Vengeance. We had heard that there was a Shinobi remake. We knew that it was announced, I think, Game Awards, maybe 2023. We finally got to see gameplay. It reminded me a lot of Dead Cells, the way, the shading, the graphics. It's definitely the kind of game that has a very cool vibe. Sega came out swinging with that, followed it up with Sonic Racing Crossworlds. And the only thing I have to say about Crossworlds is, oh wow, they are actually doing the Ratchet and Clank stuff from Rift Apart, where the world would just change, where you'd go into the Rift and boom, you were in another world. It's trying to do that in a genre filled with racing games. But hey, if we're going to get a new Mario Kart this year for the Switch 2, why not get a new Sonic racing game for the other platforms? Because that's the way it's always been. If you couldn't own a Nintendo system, the Sonic racing games took the mantle from where the Crash racing games were back in the day. And that's been all you've had in terms of mascot race platformers. A Digimon game was announced. I'm sure a lot of people are very excited about a Digimon game coming in 2025. I have zero interest in that. Again, State of Play, Xbox Game Showcase, Nintendo Directs. Not everything is for you. There are people that was the biggest thing they saw. One of the biggest announcements for me came shortly after that, but first we had a new project from a new third-party outside Sony studio, and this one is Lost Soul Aside. This is a game that's brand new that we had never heard of. This is also appears to be Sony going in a different direction with third parties. Like, this feels like they're participating a little bit more in the making of this game. I don't have a lot of details on it. It's coming May 30th. This feels like an action RPG that we've seen countless times. It has a lot of Final Fantasy 16 look to it. I think it's going to be a kind of game, could be hit or miss. If the story takes off, great. But May 30th, game kind of coming out of nowhere. Sony's supporting it from Ultra Zero Games. And it's a $60 game. So, I mean, it's not even a $70 game. I think that the pre-orders are going to start shortly, according to the PlayStation blog. And I don't have a lot of excitement for that. I hope it reviews well. Then we get to something that's for me. That one was not for me. Digimon was not for me. But we find out Like a Dragon pirate demo this weekend. Right into the Elden Ring network test. So the two most anticipated games for me this year are Like a Dragon Pirate in Hawaii and Elden Ring Night Ring. Those are the two biggest ones for me. And it's hilarious that I'm repeating the 2024 pattern. The two most anticipated games for me last year were Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which was my game of the year, and Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. We're back in a year later. We're in the same time loop, it feels like. Same timeline. Those are my two most anticipated games. So I have those to look forward to. Nothing wrong with that. And then I would put EA College Football last year would have been my third. So they announced the demo. You get to do some pirate combat. You'll get to experience the Yakuza pirate fighting style for the first time ever. So you get just a little bit of a chunk. They did a good job last time with the Infinite Wealth demo of setting you up for what to expect. I think you'll probably get the same. The game's about 2 weeks out, so it'll be here before we know it. Avowed will be out next week. Then it'll be Like a Dragon, Monster Hunter Wilds, and then it's just going to go boom, boom, boom the rest of the year with these releases just quickly, especially with the Game Pass stuff. Nice little add-on. Dave the Diver has done some great stuff with partnerships. A Like a Dragon Ichiban Hawaii Adventure add-on is a smart one. I look forward to seeing that in April. Dave the Diver is one of those games where you play a little bit, and then you play a lot, and then you play a little bit. It's one of those you pick up throughout the year. It's not a game I feel like you sit down and play consistently. It's one of those you can bounce in and out of and go, oh yeah, that's what I was doing. I was working on the restaurant and getting this. I was working on getting this weapon upgraded. It's a fun game to jump in and out of. A great Switch game. All right. Then we got to the part where I started to roll my eyes a little bit. I don't love Splitgate. I know there's people out there who really like Splitgate 1. I thought it was just, okay, yeah, it's Halo, but I'm just going through portals. I'm not a Halo multiplayer person. That doesn't do a lot for me. I probably lean more to Titanfall of any multiplayer of recent years. I have to say, the alpha coming February 27th is a good announcement for people who are into Splitgate 2 because it has been a long time in developing this game. And then I think one of the worst, I think the two back-to-back worst announcements, in my opinion. Just my personal opinion. If there's one thing that WWE 2K did not need, it is a town. It is a city where you can buy stuff. And I think it's hilarious that coming out for the best reviewed WWE 2K game, they've now added the island. And I get you use Paul Heyman to announce it and you give it the gravitas. But it's seriously, it's just a giant mall. And yes, there will be island tournaments to wrestle in the same way there are street ball courts in NBA 2K. But that is the thing that people really don't like the most about NBA 2K. And you're bringing it to a WWE game that has tremendous potential coming off of the success of 2K24. I mean, this is a huge misstep. And this is again, 2K can't help themselves. They can't help themselves. They have to fit some monetization to something. And if Judas is going to say, we're not going to do monetization, if Mafia the Old Country's not going to do it, they're going to shove it in the sports games. And this is why, as much as I would love an NFL 2K to come back, I'm also a little bit, I got my guard up because I just don't know if I can trust them with these kind of licenses because they continue to go down the monetization path and just ruin the replayability of these games. And then I told you I would get to where Suicide Squad came up. Borderlands 4. Am I a Borderlands fan? Yes. I like the first one. I like 2. and I like parts of the pre-sequel. I like Tales from the Borderlands. Borderlands 3 was like the jumping off point for me. I was like, this is not for me anymore. I can go back and rerun different characters in the old games. Borderlands 4 has not shown me one thing that separates it from any of the Borderlands games. It's prettier. Maybe it runs better. And then you put the cringy Randy Pitchford and the other Randy in, and oh boy, they're all excited to tell us that State of Play is coming this spring on Borderlands. And I just, at that point, I was like, I hope this has got to get better. You got to show me something that's going to lift my spirits after this. Because the last thing I want to see is 25-minute presentation on Borderlands when people are waiting to see news on upcoming games. And Borderlands has its fan base. I get it. It's going to sell fine. It always does. But it is a game that feels lost in a different dimension. It doesn't feel like it belongs on this timeline. There are better looter shooters out there than Borderlands, and Borderlands 4 is not giving me any confidence that it's going to be better. Every lame trailer that they put out that is just guns, 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 and is not yet anything to do with any storyline, anything to do with the characters, is just not hitting me. September 23rd, fine. I got plenty of other games I'm interested in this year. Go for it if you're a Borderlands fan, but I have a strong feeling that the reaction to the Borderlands State of Play will be very similar to the Suicide Squad one of, what are they doing? Why are they wasting this much time on a game that is a well-known property? So were my spirits picked up? Not really. I mean, I have it in Fantasy Critics, so I expect it's going to get in the 90s, a 90 critic review, and it continues to look in that direction that it's going to be very critic-friendly. Split Fiction's not doing anything for me. And I'll just say it. Joseph Ferris has made one great game. Brothers. That's it. The other ones have had good pieces in each of them, but they've been either just drawn out, unlikable characters, A Way Out, Takes Two, just unlikable characters. It Takes Two was a terrible story. And for people to be like, that's game of the year, I was always like, I'm on the outs on this. Hey, not everything's for me. Supermassive's new game was announced. It looked straight away like it was going to be a takeoff of Alien right away. And it looked like it had to do with a replicator thing. I think those games, I think the Quarry was fine. I think Until Dawn was the pinnacle of what they did with that. I think the games after that have had their good points and bad points. House of Ash, Devil in Me, I think have had decent moments with the Dark Pictures, but I just don't think it's ever come together the way that we all would hope. If you're talking about a silly pass the controller around between two people and have two other people online doing the same thing, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. October 2nd, Directive 8020, so obviously that involves aliens. Again, I'm not really loving what I'm seeing right here, and then it turns into more Five Nights with Freddy's, this time Secret of the Mimic, June 13th. Those games have never done anything for me. Jump scare games are just kind of, they've never worked for me. Midnight Walk after that. Midnight Walk is interesting to me because it looks very much like Lost in Random. It has the same kind of vibe. I think the PSVR 2 stuff in that game is going to be quite good, and I'm happy it's coming May 8th. I think it's a game that has very good potential to be one of the better PSVR 2 games, and at the same time, I think we're going to continually see this not requiring PSVR 2. Darwin's Paradox came after that. That was interesting because that was a Konami Octodad looking game that was more along the lines of a puzzler with platforming. I don't know. Didn't do much for me. Didn't have a release date for this year. Our Shadow Drop was something that I was kind of fine. Like Warriors Abyss, a roguelike from the Dynasty Warriors. Look, there's people playing the new Dynasty Warriors who are loving it. There's people who don't love the storyline. And there's people who want to go back and play the old Dynasty Warriors. They're all available in different ways to get them, especially on PC. And Warriors Abyss might be one of the weaker shadow drops I've seen in quite a while, but there's an audience for it. There will be people who really love it. It kind of reminded me, looking at it, it looked like Persona 5 Strikers to me a little bit. Like it had that kind of, okay, we're going to put you against a large amount of enemies and we're just going to go. And that seemed to be what it was going for. Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny is getting remastered. Cool. The Onimusha games are great. And I think this was, again, I was very happy to get another look at Onimusha Way of the Sword. It's a 2026 game. Looks fantastic. It looks like it's doing everything that you kind of hope Assassin's Creed Shadows would. You're in the era of the samurai. Like, there are going to be so many of these games. Like, we got Rise of Ronin last year. We got Assassin's Creed Shadows. We got Onimusha. We got Phantom Blade Zero. They all look like Sekiro. They all have their own high points and low points. Kurosawa is basically influencing everything with Shogun, with the way stories are being told. We've always had comic books that go down the samurai path. Why not in video games? Snake Eater, the same trailer that leaked a week ago that people are like, well, that's not the official trailer. It was the official trailer. It was the exact same trailer. That's the only reason it didn't get a bigger reaction out of me, because it's like, I saw this last week. Why is this here? Because people are like, well, the date leaked that it was August 25th. Well, no, it was August 28th. It's because of the dates depending on the region. So it's one of my most anticipated games. I am a Metal Gear fan. I'm into the ideal of replaying Snake Eater. It's going to be great to play it rezzed up and adding new content. They're bringing the Ape Escape thing back for PlayStation only. On Xbox, it'll be Bomberman. No problem there. Like, I don't think it really matters that much. I think it's just that great that both platforms are getting the game, when it looked like there for a while there that Konami was basically saying it was a PlayStation exclusive. With everything going cross-play, everybody putting their games out on everybody's platforms, we don't need that game to be an exclusive. I'm just looking forward to playing it. And Hell Is Us continues to look interesting. It hasn't really set its tone on what exactly it is. But its roguelike elements look like it's going to be good. It looks like it's going to be a fun Returnal-style romp game with melee combat. I think it's got good potential. I think it could be an action RPG that we're talking about at the end of the year. September 4th on that one. One of the best reactions that got out of me is this. Because think right here, we're rolling for me. We got Onimusha, we got Snake Eater, we got Hell Is Us, and now you drop Lies of P DLC. Overture is going to be a prequel. I read as much about it as soon as the showcase was over, because I was like, what is this? Is this taking place during the puppet area in the game? Is this taking place before the game? Because I don't think, from what I saw in the trailer, it's coming after the game. But it's a summer 2025 release. No more details than that. I don't know if the deluxe edition, if you get it included, I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure. But Lies of P is a great game. It's one of the better Souls-like that is not From Software. I think it has its own identity and style, and that's what I really liked about that game. Of course, I want to play more of that. Pixel Junk. I think with the game that got my attention the most, this is where I feel like I feel like my interest absolutely peaked right here. Days of Another. I think this is a beautiful concept. I love the idea of you using guns to show chaos in the world and to create things. I think that there is so much potential with this game because you can do a lot of things with the violence involved. And I really wanted to pull up what the creators had to say about the game, because I think it's cool that, again, this one's also a PSVR 2 game. It's not just a PlayStation 5 game. It's got PSVR 2. And the ideal is it's a philosophical gaming experience where shooting creates rather than destroys. I love the developer saying, I've been interested in finding new perspectives on third-person shooting games. Could we create a game that explores the beauty of life and creation in the context of destruction? This question is what inspired Dreams of Another. This is the kind of game we need more of. We need more people taking more philosophical risk, and they're using the particle effects with the gun. They're going to scatter, transform. It materializes things into existence, and you can bring objects to life, and you're going to be able to interact with them. I think this is going to be a tremendous VR experience. I think this is one of those that we're going to be talking about at the end of the year, I think, if it comes out. I think summer 2025 is what they're shooting for. I really think that they've got an interesting concept. It says 2025. I can't say actually that it is going to be summer. But for the PSVR 2, they're going to offer an immersive full 360-degree experience of its breathtaking point cloud environments, making those you've stepped into a dream. I really am looking forward to this one. This was one of the highlights for me because I thought it's a unique looking game. The concept is different. Is it going to be for everybody? No, but it's the kind of game that speaks to someone like me who is into philosophy. After that, if you're not watching the video version, I just crashed a plane because Days Gone Remastered was announced. And what that did for me is that told me there'll be no Bloodborne today. It's not the remaster we wanted. We knew that Days Gone Remastered existed. We knew there were people out there. The nicest thing I can say about it is at least it's a $10 upgrade if you own Days Gone. Now, if you own the PlayStation Plus version of Days Gone, you're not getting the $10 upgrade. But if you previously bought Days Gone back on PS4, it's a $10 upgrade. They're adding a new arcade mode. They're adding a photo mode. They're adding accessibility options. And I think the thing that they really wanted to focus on is they're adding DualSense wireless controller aspects. They want the tires to squeal on the bike. They want you to feel it more when you're being chased by the horde. Cool. But because the hope was Bloodborne was going to be the remastered announced, this kind of took the wind out of the sails. And after that, it was all right. I mean, they just talked about some things that were coming shortly. They talked about the Stellar Blade DLC. I'm a fan of Stellar Blade. Give me more DLC. That's fine. A boss run. Lost Records getting its first episode on PlayStation Plus is a good move. I remember one of the reasons I got into Life is Strange is because it was offered. The first episode was offered, and I was like, whoa, that was really good. I want to play more of that. And because they are doing the traditional release schedule of where they would wait almost a month and a half before they'd give you a new episode, I like the idea that you might play Lost Records because you have PlayStation Plus. You play the first episode, comes out in February. I think it's let me check. It was February 18th. Yeah, it is next week. Cool. You'll be able to play the second episode in April. So it's going to stick with you if it resonates with you. Now, not all of these games will resonate, but this is an interesting take on the Life is Strange formula. It's a band. It's a Stranger Things type concept. I think it's got potential. I'm definitely going to give it a shot as a PlayStation Plus just to see if it's good. We're also getting Jedi Survivor and Top Spin 2 next week, they announced. Then they talked about 2 games that will come day and date to PlayStation Plus, which will be Blueprints in spring and Aerobotic Factor in summer, which I think a 6-player co-op game always has a chance to take off on PlayStation Plus because people have the subscription. They'll try the game out. It doesn't always work that way, but look at the success of things like Rocket League before you judge it. PlayStation Classic is getting the first 3 Armored Core games. I'm perfectly fine with that. I think that was cool. We get to the end. I don't know what to say much about these games because these are brand new games that I've never seen, and none of them grab me in the way that Dreams of Another grabbed me. Tides of Annihilation looks like, yes, another one of these giant fantasy, Final Fantasy 16 looking action combat games. Metal Eden has a similar look, but it's actually a shooter. Mind's Eye, I mean, it's Leslie Bennis, so you know that it has Grand Theft Auto ties. So he's going for a open world, AI driven action third person game. And then we get to the end. We see the PlayStation Studio logo and we start to speculate right away. The first two things most people thought was probably Death Stranding 2 because they saw the beach. I thought it was The Order for a minute because of the way the character was dressed. And I was like, they just talked about that in a interview on MidMax about Sony not wanting to make another Order game was Supermassive. And it just seemed kind of odd. I was like, they're going to make an Order game again? Why would they do that? That seems very strange. And then you find out it's Housemarque. It's Housemarque's 30th anniversary. This is Soros. This is going to be, for lack of a better way of saying it, this is going to be the follow-up to Returnal because Returnal's not going to get a sequel. Soros is going to be the thing that they're going to put out. It has similar third-person action shooter combat right away, the developer said. And it's cool that we got another 2026 game to look forward to. And that was it. That was the PlayStation State of Play. Highlights for me, no doubt, Shinobi, Like a Dragon demo, Liza P DLC, Days of Another, Midnight Walk, Snake Eater, Hell Is Us. Those were the ones. The stuff that I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Borderlands 4, I'm yawning. I'm sorry. Like, I used to enjoy that franchise, but Borderlands 3 did a number on me, and I didn't even play the second Tales from the Borderlands game. The last three, I just thought they all kind of seemed Mind's Eye, Metal Eden, Tides of Annihilation. They all seemed very similar, but they weren't. It's just none of them grabbed me the way that Dreams of Another Shinobi did. And I think the 2026 slate is looking really good. I think Soros being added with Onimusha Way of the Sword, this Grand Theft Auto 6 slip into 2026. I think a lot of us feel they will. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to throw cards on it. All right, so I want to do 2 tarot card readings before we wrap up. And the first one I want to do is, will Grand Theft Auto 6 release this year? So I'm going to throw 3 cards on it, and I'm going to tell you what I get in terms of the interpretation. So the question, dropped one. There's one out. There's the first one. We got the 8 of Pentacles. 2 more cards. Will Grand Theft Auto 6 come out this year? Second card is the Queen of Pentacles. Third card is the Page of Wands. Page of Wands is the news card. It's the card that tells you things are about to happen. The Queen of Pentacles is being patient and being ready. And the 8 of Pentacles is putting the work in to get ready. So my take from what this layout is saying is the 8 of Pentacles is saying that they're working on the game. The Queen of Pentacles is telling you to be patient. And because, unfortunately, for Rockstar fans, the Page of Wands is upside down, that means news is coming slow. So this means these 3 cards are saying, maybe. There's not a definitive yes or no in those cards. The 8 of Pentacles makes it look like they're working on it. Queen is telling you to be patient. She's focused. The Wands is the only negative card of the group, and it's saying news may come out, but it'll be slow. So it still could be a fall release, this is saying. I wouldn't say it's in 2026 yet, but who knows? All right, so those are done. And the last thing we want to throw on is because Elden Ring committed to May 30th, I want to see, are they actually going to hit their date? They seem pretty content, but you know when these network tests happen, if they have a lot of problems, dates get pushed back. This happened with Dark Souls 2, if you'll recall, because the lighting engine changed. So the question we want to ask is, Elden Ring Night Ring going to actually come out on May 30th? The World card. 5 of Cups. But there is the Knight of Cups. So what these cards tell us? The World card tells us that it's on its way. everyone will soon see that Elden Ring Night Reign is coming out. The Five of Cups is there may be some disappointment associated with Elden Ring Night Reign. It may not be what you hope it is, but the good news is the Knight of Cup is the knight who is waiting for love, which means he is very patient and he is standing his ground and he is waiting to enjoy Elden Ring. So my answer is yes, it will come out May 30th, but there may be some technical challenges, maybe frame rate problems, maybe the network gets overwhelmed by new players, but we'll have to wait and see. But the network test is this weekend, and those are the cards that we got, and that will wrap up the Daily Spit Take. I have been your host, Greg Patten. I would say the state of play, when we give it a grade, I'm going to say it's a B-. I wouldn't go any better than that, but we got to talk about the backlog tomorrow, what's been going on with that. Possibly we'll look into the demos for both Elden Ring and Night Reign and Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza shortly. But that'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for listening. And as always, I would like to dedicate this episode to my mom, who's recovering from stage 3 lung cancer. And we will talk again shortly. Keep your vibration high. Take care.